welcome back.
Hi.
If it's okay, I'd like to start with the normal check-in that we do every week. So on a 0 to 5 scale, 0 being not at all, 5 being extremely intense, where are you today with misery?
4.
Okay. And what about self-harm?
What do we mean by that?
So like any type of behavior to harm yourself without the intention of killing yourself.
I don't know, 3, I guess.
Okay. And then next, suicidal behavior, so any urges to actually take your own life.
4.
Okay. And what about quitting therapy?
I've been liking meeting with you.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
1.
1. Okay. Thank you for checking in with me on that. And we'll do that again at the end when we check out, like we have been. So next, did you bring your diary card with you?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So it looks like you had the urge to drink a lot this week, but you actually did drink and then go for a drive on Sunday and Monday, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So it looks like to me Monday is the day when you maybe thought the most about those ideas you've had before when you went to drive on the highway and potentially move into the other lane, something like that. It looks like you actually went on a drive on the highway. Is that correct?
Oh, like just for like a few minutes, but
Okay.
yeah.
How do you feel about focusing on that behavior today as part of our agenda? That's something that I know you're working on and that is concerning for both of us, and I just wanted to see if you'd be okay talking about that today.
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
So I'm going to put that at the top of our agenda because that's something that I think is pretty important. Let me see here. And then second, if we get to it, I mean, I think, one, I see your diary card is a little incomplete. I think that's something we could talk about if we get time, just about the importance of keeping this up to date, so every time when we come in and meet, I can have a pretty accurate picture of what's gone on in your week.
Yeah, I just, there's sometimes I'm filling that out and all this stuff comes up for me and it just makes me feel worse, so I don't know if I can always do that,
Okay.
So.
Yeah, no, I completely understand how this could be really difficult, especially when you're having a bad day and you have to put that down on paper and see that. And I think it's still pretty important, for me to have an accurate picture. So I think we maybe could put it on the agenda if we get to it today, just to talk a little bit more about why it's important and, just touch on that topic. And we may not get to it, we may get to it, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
And then is there anything you'd like to add to the agenda today?
My kids are driving me crazy. I'm at my wit's end. It's just, I don't know why they come and they just use me like an ATM, and the school's been calling me about Jacob, and he's just constantly getting in trouble, and I'm like, it's out of my hands, it's out of my hands, and yet I am, he's taking my money, he's stealing stuff from me, he uses me, and then he's just gone, and then I'm responsible for that, and I I just can't handle that. I don't know what to do about that.
Yeah. No, I know that's an ongoing problem for you, and that's something that's really stressful and hard in your life. And I definitely think we can add that to the agenda. And if we get to it this week, that's great. And if not, we can bring it on to next week and spend some time talking about it.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's just all together. You know
Yeah,
what I
and
mean? Like, you know, like it's kind of part of everything. You know. So.
Yeah, and I think that the topic will come up a little bit today when we work on the behavior chain analysis, when we're talking about what happened. It looks like, you know, that day and the day before you were having some conflict with your kids, so that may come up when we're talking about it too. So I think that that's important to keep in mind. So if you're okay with that agenda, we have those 3 items. So discussing what happened on Monday, discussing the diary card, potentially discussing a little bit more about what's going on with your kids. And so that'll be our tentative agenda for today.
Okay.
And so what I'd like to do first is just hop right into the behavior chain analysis. So, you know, we've done this before, and, you know, we've talked about the purpose of this, and I think it can be really helpful to really look at the behavior and understand what happened before, what happened after, and just really understand it well, you know. And so I'd like to spend a little bit of time doing that with you. And so if you're okay with that, we can go ahead and get started.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So first, I want to talk about the primary behavior that we're discussing. So what that seems to me, it would be you actually getting in the car, driving on the highway, you know, while intoxicated. That's what I see as maybe the center behavior that could be causing the most problems for you. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, mostly. I mean, I had stuff to drink, you know, but I don't know if I felt intoxicated, you know.
Okay.
But like I did take my friend's car, and yeah, like it's a problem. Like there's a lot that's just could go just really bad with that. So yeah, we
Okay.
could start there.
Okay, so I guess we could call the behavior like actually driving, you know, on the highway. And we've talked about how this could maybe be a little bit of like a rehearsal behavior for you, because your ideations that revolve around suicide or maybe wanting to be dead often center on, you know, being on the highway and maybe swerving into another lane or hitting another vehicle. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I wanted to focus on this behavior. So can you tell me around what time this happened?
It's about 8 at night.
Okay. And you mentioned it's your friend's car. Which friend?
Willie, my neighbor, we kind of drink sometimes together, and like he lives next door, and he's got a car that I can borrow at times. I don't have a car, you know, so like just sometimes like you can't take the bus, especially at night, you know, so like he lets me take it out and go to the grocery store and stuff. So
Okay. And on this night, did you ask permission to use the car? Did he give the permission?
Yeah, he did.
Okay. And what did you say you were going to use the car for?
I said I was going to run up to the Quick Mart to grab some cigarettes and some supplies.
Okay. So he consented, let you use his vehicle, and then did you always intend to go to the highway instead, or did you intend to go to the Quick Mart first?
I did need to go to the Quick Mart, but I think like it's always kind of in my head, you know, as soon as I get behind that wheel, you know, I think like, man, it'd be really nice just to get out, you know, or like just that pull or that temptation to just kind of leave the neighborhood and leave, you know, everything behind and just kind of just move, you know. And then part of that too is, you know, like I just wasn't feeling good. I just wanted to get out. So yeah, I think in the back of my mind I wanted to get on the highway too.
Okay, so you were having those thoughts even before you got into the car that you wanted to be on the highway, or did it?
I feel like they're always there,
Okay.
you know, but like I thought, like that feeling was really strong when I got into the car. Like I was thinking, like when I talked to Willie, you know, about going to the Quick Mart, I needed to go, but then I get by myself, and I think like I really want to do more.
Yeah. Okay, so you get in the car. Do you stop at the Quick Mart, or do you go straight to the highway?
I did go to the Quick Mart.
Okay, so you stopped at the Quick Mart, and then you got the items maybe you needed, and then you got back in the car and decided to head to the highway. Okay. And about how long were you gone? You know, from the time you left to the time you came back?
Maybe 45 minutes, an hour or so.
Okay. Okay. So you stopped and then you went on the highway. Is it the same stretch of highway you usually drive on, or was it a different area?
Well, there's a quick mark kind of over by our house, but like I like this other one better, and you have to get on the highway to go there.
Okay.
And I know that, so I went to that other one. So does that answer your question?
Yeah. Definitely tells me where you did it. Is that typically what you do when you have this urge to get on the highway? Is that the same highway that you're usually on?
Yeah. Although I didn't have to go to that one.
Yeah. It was a choice.
Yeah.
Okay. So, when you're in the car, your urge to go to the highway, you know, on an intensity scale of 0 to 5, 5 being like incredibly intense and hard for you to resist, 0 being like no real urge at all. How intense were those feelings?
It's like once I got behind that wheel, it was like a 4 or 5.
Okay, so it was a pretty strong urge to go.
Yeah.
Okay. So how long were you actually on the highway driving?
It feels like a long time, but maybe just 15 minutes. I went the wrong direction after leaving the Quick Mart, and I just drove up, and then I pulled off, and I was starting to feel really, really down and really tense, and I pulled off and was just sitting there, and then I came back.
Okay.
So maybe 10 minutes,
Okay.
10 or 15 minutes.
And when you pulled off and you stopped, can we talk about what you were thinking or what was going through your mind at that time?
Like, what am I doing, you know, and just thinking about, like, I just hate my life sometimes, you know, like, I don't know, like, my wife, I never hear from her again. I don't know what that's like. And my kids, they fucking hate me, and, you know, and they're just, you know, all we do is argue, you know, and I think about, I'm just in pain all the time, and I don't work, and I sit in my place all the time, and, like, what am I doing? And yet, like, I also think, like, I don't want to take away Willie's car, you know, I don't want to hurt somebody, you know, on the highway, you know, what if it doesn't work again? Like, I can't go through another accident, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So, you know, we've talked about all of these things before, and I know how hard this is for you and how many stressors you have in your life, and, you know, you just touched on a lot of them. And you pulled over and you were thinking about these, but you also were having those thoughts that we've discussed before, those thoughts like, why am I doing this? You know, how will this affect others? We've talked about those, so it sounds like you were having some of those thoughts as well, sort of playing into the whole mindset that you were in. Do you think those thoughts prevented you from acting on the urge to cross over into another lane that night? Or were you really intending to do that?
I don't know. Yeah, I think they do stop me from doing that. You know, I like the idea of driving into traffic, you know, and there's times where, like, I just want to go and do it, you know, but then other times, like, I just, you know, I guess, like, after pulling off on the side and thinking about all that, I came back home.
Okay. So you got back on the highway to drive home, is that correct?
We had to.
Okay. And so you take the highway back. Were you having as strong of urges on your way back to still act on those, or were they a little less? Okay, so the intensity went down maybe after you stopped and spent some time thinking. Okay. So you get back in the car, you drive back, you return the car to Willie. So does that kind of encompass maybe you think that one event that night? I know you mentioned you had drank before, and I'd like to touch on that. But you weren't actively drinking while you were driving on the highway?
No.
Okay.
I did drink when I got back.
Okay, so before and after.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we've maybe covered a lot of the details of that specific event. So I'd like to, move back a little bit and maybe forward a little bit and better understand what happened before and after this event, like we usually do. So I know you mentioned drinking. Is there anything else that happened, maybe on that day or the day before that you think maybe pushed you towards actually rehearsing these thoughts and going on the highway?
I didn't do anything all day that day, like I didn't do anything. I
Okay.
just was at home
Mm-hmm.
all damn day, So I guess I was drinking.
Okay. So the day of, mostly you were drinking. I know the day before you mentioned you were also drinking and maybe you had had some interaction with your child. Do you think that was related to the next day in any way?
Well, it fucking pisses me off, because like at 3 o'clock, the school calls and tells me that Jacob hadn't been in school all that day, and he hadn't
Okay.
been in school, like for the whole week prior to that, and they just choose that day to tell me, and they're asking me what I need to do and talking about sending the police out and that, like they're telling me I'm some kind of bad parent, when he's 17, and he I can't control him, like he's living with his girlfriend all the time, and I don't have any control over that,
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like it's a very frustrating situation because to you it maybe seems like Jacob's kind of an adult at this point, or he's making his own decisions, but you're still being held responsible for them. Is that?
Yeah, and it's like,
Okay.
I can't keep him there, he's 17,
Yeah.
like, it's the law's fault,
Okay. So maybe we'll start there. So that was 3 p.m. the day before, around that time when you got that call?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's put that up here. So you get that call. It sounds like maybe you were feeling frustrated. Were you feeling anything else in that moment?
Just angry.
Okay, so we're going to think about it a little bit deeper. So it sounds like you were feeling frustrated, angry. Did you do anything? Were there any actions you took at that moment? Like, did you try to reach Jacob? Did you just continue to drink? Or what was happening action-wise around that time?
I started drinking.
Okay, so after that, started drinking. And it sounds like, based on what you were just saying, your thoughts are kind of maybe, I can't control him, sort of those types of things. Were there any other thoughts running through your head at that moment?
Just that my life is out of control,
Yeah.
I hate fucking sitting at the house all day, I don't feel like, I'm doing anything, that's
Okay.
good. I can't work, and I hate the TV just playing constantly, and yet I don't know what else to do, and I don't feel good enough to walk around the neighborhood or go out,
Mhm.
and so, like I was doing nothing, but like that's the problem. Like I just don't do anything.
Yeah, like no sort of distraction. You're just
I'm
there.
just there, and like I'm just thinking constantly about doing nothing,
Yeah. Okay. And then in this moment when you're angry and you're just feeling sort of out of control, what was your body feeling like? Were you getting hot? Did you have like a racing heartbeat? Did you have any physical sensations tied to that moment?
My hip hurts like hell,
Yeah.
and then I take medicine for that, so that makes me just super tired
Yeah.
also, and like my head, like at moments like this, like my head just feels like it's wrapped in like wet wool, like I just, like I don't want to make any decisions, I don't want to do anything, like
Okay.
it makes me feel sick.
Okay. So, and I think that that's an ongoing vulnerability that you have is you're always feeling this pain from the accident you experienced, and that's like a part of your everyday life. And I can only imagine that makes, other things kind of harder to deal with because you're building on top of pain that you're already experiencing.
Yeah.
Does that sound like something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you've got this pain, and also you mentioned feeling tired from the medications that you're on. Okay, so those are kind of ongoing things in your life that kind of maybe exasperate the other problems you're experiencing. Would you agree with that?
I agree with that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I think we'll put those down here to keep that in mind, that doesn't make things any easier when you're dealing with this on top of the other things.
Yeah.
So we'll keep that there. So you mentioned after the call, you started drinking. So did you already have the alcohol at your house at that time?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had all of it.
And was it beer? Was it
Beer,
liquor? Okay. And were you drinking alone, or were you drinking with Willie or anyone at this time?
It was just me.
Okay. And about how much do you think you drank this night, the night before all of this happened?
A 12 pack.
Okay.
That was over the course of the day, though.
Yeah. Okay, so you're drinking, you're alone at home. Did anything else happen that evening? Did you go for a drive that evening, or did you leave your house for any reason? Was there anything else in that evening that you think would be, related to this, the sequence of events that leads to the decision for you to actually get on the highway?
My neighbors on the other side, like they have this dog
Mm-hmm.
that is just constantly fucking barking all the
Okay.
time, and I've talked to them, and like I just can't handle this dog barking all the time, so I went out and went to talk to them about that, and we kind of got into an argument about that.
Okay, and so that was this night. About what time?
It was in the evening sometime.
Okay. Do you think like 6, 7, 8, or later, like 11?
It was dark. I
Okay.
don't really remember what time.
Okay.
And they call me a fucking drunk, and that just pisses me off because, I had the stuff to drink, but I wasn't drunk. Like, they just don't want to own up to the fact that they need to be responsible for their dog, and they just blame it on me that I'm out there being belligerent or something, but, people just need to take responsibility for themselves,
Yeah.
and it's just, I can't handle that.
Yeah, it sounds like that's a really difficult situation, especially if you were trying to sleep or do other things and focus, and then there's a dog barking in the background constantly, and then not to be taken seriously about your complaints.
Yeah.
Is this something you've complained to them about before?
Yeah, well, we talk about it all the time.
Okay, so it's an ongoing kind
Yeah, I
of...
like to do it on purpose now, I think.
Okay. And so that happened when it was dark, sometime in the evening. So you argued, you went back inside your house. Did you continue to drink after that point in time? Did you go to sleep, or how did the rest of the night play out?
I didn't sleep. I remember being up. There's a few shows I like on TV, so I was watching that. It was pretty late, probably 1 or 2 that I went to bed,
Okay.
or tried to go to bed. I think I ended up sleeping on the chair that night.
Okay. Is that something that you experience a lot, just falling asleep out in the living room instead of
Yeah.
moving? Okay. So you go to sleep and you wake up the next day. So this is the day that, in the evening you actually went out on the highway. You mentioned that most of the day you were home. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you were sitting at home, were you watching TV? Were you reading? What were you doing on that day?
Just more of the same, you know? Just sitting around, feeling pain, watching TV, listening to the dogs bark.
Okay. And so this is most of your day. Did you interact with anyone before you started meeting up with Willie and drinking later in the day?
Willie's gone during the day, so I
Okay.
can't really talk to him anyway, I tried to call my daughter, but she's got her family, so, like, we didn't talk really. And,
Did she answer the phone?
she did, but she has little ones,
Okay.
and we only talked for like 5 minutes.
Okay. What were you talking about? Just in that short conversation?
I was just calling to see how she's doing. Of my 3 kids, we're probably the closest. But she didn't have time for me either, you know, and she only calls when she needs stuff. Otherwise, you know, like, we don't really have conversations.
Okay. So she was busy. She didn't have a lot of time to devote to the conversation. Is that correct? Do you know about what time that would have been? Do you have an estimation of that? Morning, afternoon?
Late morning, maybe.
Okay. So you hang up. Are you continuing to just be alone for a while longer until Willie gets home, or did you do anything else that afternoon?
I didn't do a damn thing.
Okay.
Which I feel like is the problem. You know, like I just hate sitting there. I just feel like it makes me less of a man.
Okay.
You know, and it's just, I'm sitting in that house day in and day out, just rotting there, you know, and so I drank and I watched TV and I couldn't connect to anybody, you know, and I hate that situation.
Do you feel isolated when you're at home for a whole day like that, not really interacting?
Yeah, like I can't drive.
Mm-hmm.
I can't, you know, like just walking somewhere, like my hip has just been hurting so bad. You know, like I really can't make it more than a few blocks. You know, so I'm stuck in that hole, you know, watching TV.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't feel good, you know, and I feel isolated.
Okay. So do you think that maybe a vulnerability would be just your lack of access to transportation, not having a job, just those things that kind of keep you in your home for long periods of time?
Yeah.
Okay. So next, is the next thing that happened Willie coming home and you guys maybe deciding to drink together? Is that sometime maybe late afternoon?
I saw him come home.
Okay.
We didn't drink together that day. Like
Okay.
he offered that I could use his car on occasion if I needed to. And we kind of have that arrangement, you know, so I kind of do some stuff for his place, you know, and like when I need to use his car, you know, I get out and do that.
Okay.
It's pretty awesome that way, but we didn't hang out.
Okay, so at what point in the day, or was it all day that you were just kind of drinking, or did it start at a certain point in time on this day?
It started earlier, probably late morning also.
Okay, and how much do you think you drank on this day?
7 or 8 beers. Okay.
So this is kind of happening throughout, maybe calling your daughter and doing some of these other things.
Yeah.
Okay. At what point in time did you decide you wanted to borrow the car?
I was kind of out of food and I was out of beer,
Okay.
and I was just aching to get out, you know, so probably 7:30 or so.
Okay. So then did you go over to Willie's house and just ask him in person if you could borrow the car?
Yeah.
Is that how it happened?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you talk to him at all, or was it a pretty short interaction?
You know, we're guys, you know, so we didn't really say a whole lot. We talked about the game the day before. We talked about a little bit, but I just like, you know, hey, can I use your car? So it's kind of pretty quick.
Okay. So it seems like this is kind of what happened leading up to this decision to go driving on the highway. Did we miss any important events, you think, in that day that could have contributed to that decision in any way?
I think all the events are right. Like I feel like I just feel embarrassed because like I see that and I just like I know that I'm just home all the time, you know, just doing nothing, you know, and like it seems to me like it needs to be on there that I feel like hell when all
Okay.
that happens too, you know, like I'm not just, you know, being lazy at home drinking the day away, like I don't want to do that.
Okay, so are you trying to say, I just want to make sure I understand, you're saying just being at home makes you feel,
Yeah,
Like,
like
that- it starts to bring you
that's not a
down.
good thing.
it starts
So,
to bring you down? And,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So if this is something that you think is really important, is being home alone all day and even maybe the day before, let's talk about that just a little more and make sure we understand how that's making you feel, if that's okay.
Mhm.
So you're home alone. You've been home alone. You don't have any prospect of leaving. What are the feelings that are going through you at that moment?
That I fucked up my life somehow, you know, that I'm just a failure.
Okay, so those sound kind of like thoughts to me too. So I mean, feelings and thoughts are really closely entwined. So you're thinking, I'm a failure. I fucked up my life. And what does that make you feel like? Is it sad? Is it anger? Is it what kind of
Just
feelings
really,
are associated?
really depressed.
Depressed. Okay.
Yeah.
And how does depressed feel like to you? Does it feel heavy on your chest? Does it feel like tenseness? What does that feel like?
I feel like it makes me have like a headache and I just don't want to do anything. I feel really angry.
Okay, so headache. Okay. And so the environment that this happens is when you're home alone. If you have a day when you have a task scheduled or something, to kind of structure your day around, do you find that you feel these things less?
Yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like that's really something that maybe brings you down when you have one of those days where you're home all day, and especially when you have these other things contributing to maybe your negative mood.
Yeah, you could say that.
Okay. So I want to spend just a few minutes talking about what happened after this, just so we can understand maybe some consequences or outcomes that came from this decision. So you return Willie's car to him. Do you have any kind of conversation with Willie, or is it a pretty quick exchange when you come back?
Yeah, I just dropped it off.
Okay.
Put his keys on the wall. And
Okay,
walked
so you
back.
didn't even see him?
Mhm.
Okay, I was curious if he ever asked you about the lengths of time that you were gone, if he ever put you on the spot about something like that.
Oh, Willie, I think he just gets it, you know.
Okay.
He doesn't ask questions ever. I like that about him.
Okay. And then did you go home after that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you get beer while you were at Quick Mart? Did you continue to drink when you got home?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. I know you mentioned, on your way to the Quick Mart and while you were on the